A year ago, Russia became the world leader in the number of sanctions imposed. No doubt it made Russians' lives worse. Perhaps there is a food shortage in Russia and people are standing in long queues again as they did during the Soviet era. Perhaps it's no longer possible to buy branded clothing in Russia, and Russian citizens can only dream of purchasing fashionable items. All cars in Russia were most likely left without spare parts, so the Russians switched from cars to old-fashioned carriages. And of course, the carriages are pulled by pet bears. Let's find out together how much the sanctions have affected Russians' lives and whether Russia has become a country where it's impossible to live well. You're watching Study with GE, a channel about education and life in Russia. Let's get started. In the spring of 2022, world experts predicted the collapse of the Russian currency, the ruble. A year later, however, everyone had to admit that there had been no collapse. On the contrary, the ruble has strengthened. This was due to a record positive balance of exports and imports. Furthermore, Russia received record revenues from gas sales in 2022. So, if you've heard that Russia is bracing for an imminent default, that there is a currency shortage, an economic collapse, or something similar, then remember that these are nothing than empty words that do not reflect the true state of affairs in the country. Russia is adapting to the imposed restrictions, and so is the Russian economy. Let's recall Maslow's hierarchy of needs and begin with the most important aspects of life: food and hygiene. Because if you haven't eaten anything all day, no new Converse will bring you joy. Russia is an agricultural country that produces more wheat than any other world power in the world. The share of basic food imports is so small that it's irrelevant to discuss. There is a vast array of products to choose from in Russian stores and hypermarkets. The local food industry has grown so much in the last 10 years that 95% of all products consumed by Russians are produced in Russia. That is to say, 95% of what you see here was made in Russia. This means that no food crisis is expected in the near future because Russia relies on no one but itself in this regard. I hear your unspoken question: what about hygiene products? Perhaps you make your own toothpaste out of eggshells. Everything is a little different with hygiene products and household chemicals, but the end result is the same. Toothpastes, shampoos, pads, shower gels, shaving foams, washing powders, bleaches, and other similar things are mostly imported from abroad. This, however, had no effect on the quantity or quality of goods in this area. Procter & Gamble, Nivea, Colgate, Gillette, and other familiar products are still available in Russia. The most significant effect of the sanctions was an increase in commodity prices. Food prices have risen by 10% on average, while hygiene products and household chemicals have risen by 20–30%. By the way, according to some data, Russia's inflation rate in 2022 was 12%. But which country did not have inflation in 2022? For example, inflation in the United States in November 2022 was 7%. Russians did not start wearing fur coats and tunics everywhere after the sanctions were imposed. There is no shortage of goods in Moscow or throughout Russia. This also applies to clothing stores. There were and have appeared a large number of new domestic clothing stores in Russia. 12 Stories, Love Republic, Henderson, Austin, Gloria Jeans, and Zala are the most popular among Russians. What about well-known foreign retailers? Some clothing brands simply did not leave Russia. Lacoste, Mango, Blue Marine, Calvin Klein, Gant, Ares, Calzedonia, New Balance, Sergio Rossi, Lancel, Guess, and a few of other brands are still on the list. Some brands left Russia for a period of time before reopening under a different name, but with the same assortment. As a result, the well-known Nike brand became known as NSP in Russia. Reserved, Crop House, Mahito, and Sensei stores in Russia have opened under the names RE, CR, XC, M, and Sin. After a 4-month absence, Levi's denim clothing returned to Russia under the brand name GNS. It's worth noting that the trend of renaming businesses in order to keep them open affected more than just clothing stores. Coca-Cola, a well-known beverage brand, was renamed to Dobry Cola, and McDonald's to Tasty Period. L'Occitane simply translated its name into Cyrillic. Also, if you really do not want to get out of your soft bed, you can order a delivery through popular online stores such as Wildberries, Ozone, or the website of the brand that interests you. For all the reasons stated above before believing rumors that there is no particular brand stores in Russia, check the information online. What if you don't want to read through rumors and fakes? Then ask us in the comments and we'll respond in detail. As you can see, we're not filming this footage on a Sony Ericsson cell phone. What about the gadgets, you may ask? After all, even a child understands that the ability to purchase the latest iPhone determines the viability of a modern country. We respond that smartphones, iPhones, computers, laptops, and headphones are easily available in Russia. At least buying something is not more difficult than to do so in other developed countries in the world. This can be done in a gadget store or online. Apple and Samsung have officially withdrawn from Russia, but their equipment and applications still work, and gadgets are sold through a parallel import system. What exactly is it? In simpler words, there is the legal import and the sale of origin goods without the involvement of the copyright holder. Other companies, such as Chinese firm Xiaomi, continue to supply their products directly. Other well-known brand smartphones are also easily available in stores, for example, Honor, Huawei, OnePlus, Viva, Realme, and Poco. The only notable limitation is the prohibition on contactless payment systems, such as Apple Pay, Google Pay, and others. Keep cash on you when you arrive in Russia until you receive a card from a Russian bank, such as Sberbank or Tinkoff. Laptops and PC accessories can also be purchased or ordered online with ease. The only difference between the situation now and 2021 is an increase in equipment prices. Even so, this is not an axiom. For example, in January 2023, the Russian laptop market was so oversaturated that prices fell by 30%. Another example, in February 2022, the iPhone 13 cost 80,000 rubles, while the iPhone 13 Pro Max cost 110,000 rubles. At the moment, an iPhone 13 in the same configuration costs 70,000 rubles in the Russian online store Sveznoy. An iPhone 13 Pro Max costs 119,000 rubles. That is, you can see both prices increases and prices decreases. It all depends on the suppliers and the phone's model and the year of manufacture. It is difficult to discuss a price of goods crisis in Russia because the situation is constantly changing and almost always for the better. If you thought that sanctions had turned Russia into a troubled country before watching this video, you now know this is not the case. Life in Russia is in full swing. There are plenty of goods and new Russian brands are appearing. Old ones are returning and some changing their names. Don't be afraid to learn new things about Russia and consider the option of coming here to study. You will find a friendly modern country, a favorable atmosphere, and many amenities. And we, Global Education Russia, are ready to show you Russia as it is. Subscribe to our channel, like, and watch our other videos about studying and living in Russia. See you soon, and always remember, you are the architects of your own future.